This is CandyQuest, a standalone solo tabletop adventure that combines the HeroQuest game system with the 2025 Candyland. Now, this is compatible with the 1990 HeroQuest system and HeroQuest First Light, but it does require the 2025 edition of Candyland to work correctly. Now, I gotta say, I was actually inspired to create this after reading a comment on one of my earlier HeroQuest videos where somebody had mentioned that they and their brother growing up would use different game boards to make adventures, and Candyland was one of the suggestions. So I had to go after it. So thank you for the suggestion. This might be one of the nerdiest things that I've done on my YouTube channel so far, but I think Steve and Eleanor would both have a laugh at this. So I think I get a pass. Plus, they're both Hasbro games anyway, so we're not breaking any weird rules. So the rule set, I have a link in my description. Here's a QR code, a full PDF that not only has all of the rule updates, but I even wrote lore so you can experience this as a tabletop role-playing game. There's no game master required. As you progress through the game, the story is broken up as you reach each one of the 5 doors that open up the 5 zones that you'll be playing in. Setup is really easy. So it's intended for 1 hero, 1 player. So you select a hero and you kind of have a pre-existing hero. So if it's somebody that you've already been questing with, the only rule is you can't bring any outside items in because this is a dream sequence that takes place out of sequence of all of your other quests there. So you can have your character sheet there. You'll want to draw and set aside the gargoyle and mummy. The gargoyle will be the proxy for your nightmare demon who's tormenting you in this dream. The mummy will serve as the Candyland kids, which are going to symbolize the ghosts of your hero's past. Ooh. And then you will shuffle the remaining monster cards and place them face down near the board like this. For the treasure, you will separate all of the traps and items save for the 5 wandering monsters and the 5 potions. You'll shuffle them and place them face down here. As you navigate the board for purposes of looting, each individual space counts as a room. So you can see where this is going. If you decide to loot a room, you draw from the treasure pile and you have a 50-50 chance of getting a potion or finding a wandering monster. Should you encounter a wandering monster, you draw from the monster pile to determine what type of creature you're going to face and place them on the nearest space immediately behind your character. Characters that are already existing in certain zones, like the Candyland kids, who will be placed on these little candy markers as their starting positions, will only become active after the door that they're behind is opened. Once the door has been opened, the Candyland monster must pursue and attack our hero, just like any other wandering monster will do. If you have more than 1 monster in play, the monster who is closest to the hero always goes first in the turn rotation. It adds a little bit of intensity here. Now, when you've used potions, they're discarded, but if you encounter a wandering monster, that wandering monster card is shuffled back into the treasure deck, and the monster is shuffled back into the monster deck when he's defeated. So as you progress through the story, you're less and less likely to get useful loot when you're looting rooms and more likely to run across more opposition. This was balanced out to be playable by all 4 different character types, and all of them should experience the same level of difficulty. However, if it's not spicy enough for you, you can play on the chaos mode. And instead of using the mummy as your proxy for the Candyland kids, you shuffle the mummy into the monster pile. And every time you open a door and activate the monster on the other side, you draw the monster card to determine what level of difficulty you will be facing. I thought it was an absolute blast. I had a good time writing the story for this. You'll notice I have these 3 artifacts up here. Those are explained in the rules, but at the end of the story, you will get 1 tangible item that you can bring back to the waking world to help your character on their next quest. But they're not game-breaking items. So I did make sure to balance it out. The idea was if you had a character that you wanted to practice with and, basically level up a little bit without making it game-breaking, you could play this dream sequence and get a small buff for your next quest that wouldn't throw everything completely out of whack, and it would more or less give you just a little bit more experience with that character type. Gameplay sessions are about 15 minutes to a half hour, depending on how much you enjoy reading through the story and taking your time. I had a blast writing the lore to go behind this, and I'm really interested to see what other game boards we could kit bash with HeroQuest. So if you have any ideas, comment below and let me know. I had so much fun. Mrs. Old Crappy Couch had a lot of fun with this. She loves HeroQuest. That was one thing I'm really happy about having reviewed HeroQuest last year. It was my first time playing the game. I compared the 1990 to the 2021 Avalon Hill Edition, and both were fantastic, but in particular, the gameplay was something I had never experienced before, and I thoroughly enjoyed. But it was also a pleasant surprise that Mrs. Old Crappy Couch absolutely bit into it. So everybody thank Mrs. Old Crappy Couch, because she put a lot of playtesting into this. She had a blast. I got to watch her and see where she was struggling, see what needed to be changed to make sure that the balance was just right. And I think we hit a nice sweet note where it's a lot of fun without being too difficult or too easy. But if you have any other game boards that you'd love to see kit bashed with HeroQuest, or maybe you've kit bashed them yourself, comment below, let me know. I'd love to see them. Thanks so much to my couch potatoes, the channel members who make great videos like this possible. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and check out my Eleanor's Candyland Kids fundraiser. It's an ongoing fundraiser that benefits St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Hey, in the fight against cancer, we play to win. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time.